welcome to part 2. Let's carry on from where we left off in part 1, and that's to edit this center circle where we're going to make the heart shape. So with the object selected, tab into edit mode, select the bottom face and delete it. Now we can select the top icon, and then we're going to press the I key to create an inset. And what this allows us to do is to use these edges and vertices to create the heart shape. You can see there just in the background. I think it might help to use proportional editing for some of this, so let's try that. Make sure you have connected only switched on. And if we just test this now scroll your mouse wheel to make a smaller radius. You can see there we're also adjusting the outer edges, which we don't want to do. So we can employ a little trick here. That's to select these outer ones and hide them. So press the H key to hide those. And because they're hidden, they shouldn't be affected by the operations we're now doing. So let's just test that. So if I do that and then do Alt H to unhide that, you can see there, those are unaffected. So that's working. So let's, with those selected, let's hide them again. Let's just work our way around. Just fast forward that. It's a little bit tedious, but watch out for that part there because that bottom vertex needs to be aligned with that one. So make sure that one's aligned like that. Now we can just use the tweak tool where you can select one and press the G key. I'll just speed through that again and just distribute these, something like that. You get the heart shape. Let's make a cut down the middle by selecting two vertices and pressing the J key and delete the left half. We're just going to use a mirror modifier for that. However, we need to unhide everything first and delete the whole left side, not just that heart bit in the middle. So back to select box, X-ray mode or wireframe mode, make sure you select everything and delete those faces. Cool, now we're left with half. And of course we can apply a mirror modifier later on. But for now, let's select this center face and separate it by pressing the P key. Let's give that a quick rename. And what should we call that part? Let's call it heart base. Okay, you can see there we've got two separate shapes now. Let's add a mirror modifier on the x-axis. I'm using the add-on, of course, but feel free to, it's just a modifier, so you can add that quite easily. Just speed this up again. And we're going to extrude the outer edge of the heart shape. Not the middle edge, just the outer ones. Just bring it down. I use vertex snapping to make sure it's the same depth as the circle on the outside, you can see there. And of course, within extrusion, check your face orientations. Make sure they're not facing in the wrong direction. Let's turn clipping on as well for both of these. And with that done, we're going to tab into the outer shape. Oops, my apologies, into the heart shape there. And press the I key again. And this time press the B key for boundary. Now we'll just create a small inset, just like that. It's always a good idea to create these insets, just in case you need them later on to act as support loops. So I'm going to select all of these edges, so not edges, faces there. And now I want to not use the B boundary thing, but I also want it to be just within the island that I've selected, not up to the edge. So we might as well now apply the mirror modifier, tab into edit mode, and I'm going to alt click and select all of those faces. And now by pressing the B key for boundary, it reverts it back to its standard operation. So there we go, we've got the heart shape with an inset, and we have the outer base with an inset as well. And we need to extrude this edge just here on the inside of that. So select that, press the E key, and again I'm going to use snapping on vertex. You can hold down the control key to invoke snapping, just like that. Again, check your face orientations, your normals, facing the right way. Just checking the insides there just to make sure I haven't missed anything. Cool, now you can see there we've got these holes in the grey circle. Let's focus on that now. You can see there in the schematic as well. These small holes. No idea what they're for, but they're there. So let's make them anyway. Now we're not going to worry about making 4 holes separately. We just create the one and use the mirror modifier to complete the circle. And we're going to focus it in this top left part there at a 45-degree angle. So let's tab into edit mode. Before we do that, let's just select these bottom edges and these top faces, and press I to inset those. It doesn't do any harm to create some support loops, just in case we need them later on. Cool. Okay, let's go back to the top left quadrant. And we'll select these 2 faces there. And with those selected, I'm going to press the I key again for inset. And bring that in as much as you want to. Anywhere will do for now. And then we can switch over to vertex mode. I'm just going to move these. I'm in tweak mode now with the cursor. Just move them into a rough circular shape. Doesn't have to be perfect, as long as they're fairly close to each other, like that. So we're going to select all of those. In fact, we need to delete these faces first, in the middle. You can see we have the faces at the bottom of the circle as well, which we don't need right now, so I might as well just delete these. Let's focus back on this whole part there. So I'm going to select this edge loop by pressing Alt-click. And again, using the right-click context menu, I'm going to subdivide those edges so we have more vertices. So now we can select all of those vertices. And like we did before, right-click, loop tools, and use the circle function. There it is, operation. And that's lovely. It's looking really nice. Let's think about what we're going to do next. Once again, I'm going to select in edge mode all of these edges. Make sure that's set to medium point, make it a little bit smaller. Perhaps the hole is a little bit too big. Press the F key to fill it, and press the I key to create a small inset again. That will do. Then we can see it from this angle. I'm going to delete that face. Let's tab back into edit mode and select all of these faces now. So this face loop there and the outer ones. If you press Ctrl+ on the numpad, that will increase the selection. So with that selected, Shift D to duplicate. I'm going to have vertex snapping on and just move that down like that. Can you guess what's wrong? Yep, face normals. Because all we've done is move them down from the top part. So we need to flip these ones. So let's select that again. You can press the L key actually to select linked and click flip normal, or Alt-N to bring up the normals menu. Just a little bit easier with the add-on. Remember, because we've copied that and moved it there, we've got overlapping vertices. So I'm going to select everything by pressing the A key and using merge by distance, which you can also select or invoke by pressing the M key. Cool, now that's done. Let's select these edge loops there, right click. Oh, there goes my phone, I should put that on silent. And right click and do your bridge edge loops. And now we can delete most of the circle and use a mirror modifier to complete it. So we select 3/4 of the circle and delete those vertices or faces. Let's add a mirror modifier the old-fashioned way. There it is. And click on the X-axis, which is the default, and the Y. And make sure clipping is enabled, of course. And we're going to apply that. Great. Face normals are fine, so that's good. Let's come out of isolation mode by pressing the / key. Yeah, so a good little tip, if you're getting confused, well, just want to have better visibility on objects in the viewport, why not change their color for the viewport? So let's head over to the object data properties and into viewport display and set this to random object. And that will now use the object color in the viewport. That helps to isolate some objects for us in the viewport, and also remind us of what the materials need to be later on. And you can also copy and paste the colors just by hovering your mouse over the swatch there. Copy and paste as you would do in any normal operation. Okay, that's done. Let's just make a quick collection and put these parts in. So I'm going to right click in that outliner and give it a new collection. And of course, I'm going to call it the companion cube. So all of those are now inside there. We've got our reference materials in the other collection. Cool. Right, let's have a look at these inner parts, these flat plates. So there's our frame that we created earlier in part 1. So I'm going to select this edge loop there. In hindsight, that probably, actually that's okay. Let's leave it there for now. I'm going to put the 3D cursor there by pressing Shift S, cursor to selected. With that done, I'm going to switch over to the top view and add a plane. I'm going to scale this up. Apply the scale, of course. Now thinking about it, now that I'm watching it again, I could have just copied the that edge loop we had earlier on and copied it with Shift D, separate it into a new object and just filled it to create a face there rather than doing it this way. So what I'm doing now is snapping these vertices to the frame mesh so that they're perfectly aligned. But choose whichever method works for you. Almost there, just these last 2 to go. And I'm using vertex snapping, of course, to do that. So you want something like that. Let's turn on our reference again, turn X-ray mode on. You can see there, let me just change the opacity of the reference materials. You can see it a bit clearer. That pink part is going to be the glowy, translucent part. So that's where we need to make some cuts in our plane. So I thought one way to do that is to add initially I was going to add some loop cuts like this and scale them down. Then I decided just make one loop cut in the y-axis, then the x. And with both of those edges selected, holding down Shift to select both, we can just do a Control B, a bevel. That will give us a consistent gap. Like that. Now we can delete those faces because we don't need those. Pew, pew, pew. Cool. Now, the only problem with this one is we don't want these, the corner of those boxes overlapping beyond the circle. But for this part, let's make a plane, another plane, bring it down to the base of the rings and the heart base. And that's going to be the pink part. So I'll give that, oops, I'm calling it white panels. Sorry, I'm calling the white panels, and then the pink part is going to be that one there. So I'm going to drag that into the companion cube collection, call it pink area. And let's copy that object color as well. So there you go, copy and paste it from the heart to the pink area mesh plane. So now we have that. I've hidden the white panels for now, turned them off. This needs to be, as long as it goes as far as that, that's fine. And apply the scale, of course. Let's bring that down. Wasn't sure where to put it just yet. Put it there for a moment. And let's select the white panels. Let's finish those off properly. Let's isolate those in the viewport. Let's add a solidify modifier, which is also there, of course. And let's make sure we have even thickness turned on. make that a tad thicker. And also I like to have normals high quality. No idea what that does, but it sounds good, so why not? Face normals are good. Let's apply that. Okay, that's looking better. Now, these are the parts that need to be cropped off. They shouldn't be in the circle area. So we're going to create another Boolean operation, but we might as well just do a part of it only and use the mirror modifier again later. So you can see that's sitting underneath the circle. So from the top view, let's add a cylinder in object mode now, not in the white panels. Object as a separate object, add a cylinder and make it about so big. Let's give it some depth if you haven't already. And there it is. Now we go and select the white plane there and add a Boolean modifier. I'll just quickly use the add-on. So I'm going to use the eyedropper to select the cylinder, have a different type of Boolean and hit add. You can see there, it's just a bog standard modifier. Once you've done that, apply it and delete the cylinder. And that's what we want. Perfect. And with that done, we can just add a mirror modifier now in the X and the Y. And add. Clipping doesn't need to be on because the edges are not touching. Now it looks a bit messy because we have the pink plane sitting exactly where the top of the white panels are. Let's bring that down now. I want to bring it down, but also I want to snap it to the bottom of the white panels. So I'm going to isolate both of those parts, click on the Z-axis and just use vertex snapping to snap it to the bottom of the white panels. Let's auto shade smooth the white panels as well. Let's come out of isolation mode. Now, with the circle part there and the white panels, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the bottom parts of the circle, so we don't really need to have these here. So I'm going to alt-click, but of course it won't select all of the face loops because we have the holes, remember. So we can only delete some of it in one go. So I thought about doing it this way, but it gets a bit messy. So for now, let's just delete these because they're easy. Let's go back actually. Let's switch to front view or side view. Switch to vertex mode. Use the box select. Make sure you select all of the bottom vertices and we can delete those. And we're just left with the top and the sides. Oops, and the faces there. That's what I meant to do. Right. You can see that we have a bit of a gap underneath the circle. So I'm going to bring that down so that it's flush with the bottom of the white plate. So again, vertex snapping, and there you go. I suspect our heart shape and base are floating now above the pink area. We can't really show that in the viewport. So I'm going to, both of those selected and the circle, I'm going to isolate those in the viewport and give the base of the heart and the outer circle of the heart, that part there. You can select both of them and hit edit mode. You can edit more than one object at the same time. Box select the bottom vertices. Let's just bring them down to the same level. I'll just check in again there. Hold down Control to invoke the snapping, and there we go. Nice and easy. Back to solid mode and exit isolation mode. Looking good. You can see the pink part through the holes, which I didn't really want. Maybe the Boolean should have been a bit smaller. So what I would do instead, instead of having the holes going right through the circle, I'm going to lift them out and up so we can't see through them. So I'm going to press F to fill that. Just bring that up. Bring it up as far as you like. I'm just going to use the round it up to 0.01. That way I can just copy that 0.01. Then I can just paste it on the other ones. So I'll probably speed through that. Probably know what to do now. Just create a face there. Move it up by the same value. And shade smooth. And we've got some angles need to fix under the shade smooth operator there. You can see it's not quite smoothing it out, something greater than 30 degrees. See what works for you. I'm going to try 35. That looks fine. Okay, cool. Check our face orientation is all good, which it is. And coming out of isolation mode again. That's all looking pretty nice now. So as you can see there, all I need to do now is apply some of the modifiers. For example, the white panel there. And we're going to mirror this vertically. However, the pivot point's in the wrong place. It needs to be in the center of the cube. So let's add, oops, not add. Let's move the 3D cursor back to the world origin, which is at the 0, 0, 0. Now the mirror modifier works nicely. Of course, set the origin to the 3D cursor, otherwise that won't work. So again, selecting different parts, we're setting the origin to the center of the world, which is at the center of the cube, and adding any appropriate mirror modifiers for now. And you can duplicate the object. I'm actually using Alt-D, not Shift-D. That way it's an instance, and rotate it 90 degrees on the appropriate axis. I should say that you can hold down the Control key to get increments of 5 degrees as you rotate. There we go, 90 degrees. I'll fast forward this because all I'm doing is duplicating the objects with Alt-D, adding mirror modifiers, and rotating them 90 degrees. And that will basically complete the whole cube at this stage anyway. So just the heart to do now. And there we go. And finally, there it is. You can barely see it there, but we also have the holes in the white part around the heart. So let's take a quick look at those. And it'll be the same techniques as we used on the circle. So we're going to create some faces by using the inset tool. So select a couple of faces and press I to inset. So that's where we want the hole to be. So I for insert, and as before, just want to space out the vertices into a rough circle to help the loop tools tool make it a perfect circle for us. Doesn't have to be in that shape, but it just makes it a little bit smaller, easier, less fixes. Like before, let's delete these faces in the middle. Select the edge loop, right click and loop tools, sorry, subdivide first. Or not, let's just rotate it, make it a circle first. Rotate it a touch, so it sits better within that space. And now we can subdivide those edges and create a nice circle from those. Like before, I've added a face there by pressing F and created an inset. Now we can select that face and create an inset, but this time not all the way to the bottom, and change the normal auto smooth to 35 as well, because we know it worked previously on the other side. Now we need to add the apply the mirror modifier here. So if you get that error, it's not because you've done anything wrong, but Blender won't let you do these operations if you've got instances around your scene. So you're going to have to delete those instances probably and just work on them separately, or duplicate this one again afterwards. All I'm doing here is duplicating the circle we made in the other space on the right and moving it to this position here to save us some work. Put it roughly in the right place and fill the holes by pressing F to fill it. You can see there I've made a hole at the bottom. So again, I'll select this hole, copy it, move it down into position. And feel free to tweak these, move them around, perhaps a little bit too centered. Now let's fill the gap at the bottom there as well. And there you go. Great. And because we had to delete the other ones, I'm just going to Alt-D, duplicate these as instances and rotate them again 90 degrees. Now, the one thing I didn't do at the beginning, which I should have done, is set the correct scale for the cube, and it should be 2 feet by 2 feet. So this one's actually 2 meters by 2 meters. So that's the size we want, that one there. So I'm going to move that to the center of the world, turn off the selectability of all of these elements there. I'm going to select all of the cube parts, switch to the front view with 1 on the numpad. Let's have X-ray mode on, and then press the S key to scale all of them together as a group. And hold down Shift to get it approximately at that size. And you can imagine the problems this is going to cause in that. Firstly, we don't need the cube. Let's delete that. Now I was going back to say as I was saying, all of the objects we've just now scaled will be non-uniform scale. And the problem with that is we've got all these instances throughout our cube. So Blender doesn't like the fact that we want to apply the scale. This is what happens if you try to apply it. So if we select one of these, you can see there the dimensions and the scale, or the scale is not non-uniform. If I try to apply it, it asks you if you want to create a new object and so on, which I don't want to do. You can see there, if I do the same here, it doesn't work, which is fine. It just looks a bit more untidy, but it's the same principle as what Blender's doing. So what I'm going to do is delete all of the other instances and recreate them afterwards. So sorry about that, guys. If I'd scaled it at the beginning, I wouldn't have to do this now. But it's a good idea to have this set to the right scale. So this doesn't take long, it's a few minutes. So now we've gone back to our original shapes, and they have some mirror modifiers on them, of course. Now we can start applying the scale. But before I do that, I'm going to delete the faces on the bottom of this white panels, because it keeps glitching with the pink, and I don't like to see that. So let's delete those. And now we don't have that glitchy thing going on in the viewport. Okay, so there's our heart shape and our cage and all the other bits. You can see there, non-uniform scale. Let's apply that. So systematically go through each one, just hit apply scale, or Control A, apply scale. And there you go. So all that's left to do now is, again, create instances of these objects and rotate them 90 degrees. So I'll cut forward to that because you don't want to watch that again. And we're going to cut any second now. There we go. Hurrah! And finally, as I like to do, is create an empty cube. It's an empty, not a mesh cube. Scale that down just outside the box that we have. And now we can select, let's give it a quick rename actually. I'm going to call that CC group. I'll select everything and then select the empty last. So I've actually made mine green, but yours will be like an orange yellow object. Then hit Control P to parent it to the cube. So now if we rotate the empty cube, everything follows along beautifully. Ta-da! So thanks for watching. Join me in part 3 when we refine the model. If you liked and enjoyed this video, a like and subscribe will be hugely appreciated. Right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.